Hey everybody, it's Chad from Six Blog. I'm Stick, and this morning I just kind of want to do a post-hike gear review kind of video. Last weekend, well, not this weekend we just had, but the weekend before last, me and my wife and two other buddies went and hiked a section of the Appalachian Trail from Iron Mountain Gap to US 19 East. It was about a 30-mile section. We did it in 4 days, so it wasn't a bad hard hike, but it was definitely a pretty hike. And I took a couple of things that was kind of new to me on that hike, but most things I'd used previously in the past. So there are some things though that I found out, and I just want to talk about a few things just real quick here on video. So to start off with, I don't have it with me, it's actually in the back. On this trip I used my ULA Circuit instead of my Cuben fiber ZPacks backpacks, and the reason I did so is because since my wife went with me, I tried to put more stuff inside my backpack so that she wouldn't have to carry quite as much. And that's really why I kept my ULA Circuit around. I absolutely love my ZPacks Cuben fiber backpacks, especially my small zero pack that I use for summer. But I did intentionally, as I said, I kept that ULA Circuit for trips that will be kind of maybe colder and I would have to carry a little extra stuff, and that's what I used it for. The pack did fine. I'll admit I did miss my Cuben packs, but you know, the pack did fine. It rode well. All summer long I've been using a backpack with basically no hip belt, so that did take me a little bit to get used to having a hip belt on again. Of course, it took me a little bit to get used to having hip belt pockets again too, because that's something I haven't really used at all this year on any of my backpacks. Not saying I like them, not saying I don't like them, but for the packs that I have, I like the way that they're set up, and I'll just leave it at that. But the Circuit did great. I have no complaints about it. It's a bomber pack. Let's see. Next, I'll just kind of start with this here. For this trip, since, well, let me start right here. My food bag. For this trip, since I carried both me and my wife's food in my backpack. I initially loaded everything up in this, which is my LiteTrail NyloBarrier bag. I love these things ever since I got them. I've been using them and I really like them. But what I found out is after I loaded all my food up in here, which it held all of our food, which was about just a little over 3 days worth of food for both me and her, and this bag held it up fine. I posted some pictures on Facebook. But what I found out is that the shape of this doesn't match the shape of this. And I really like this ZPacks Blast rectangular shaped bag for my bigger backpacks, because I like to be able to fill this bag up, and then when I put it in my backpack, it basically fills up the entire space width-wise as well as depth-wise for the most part. And it's not just this big round tube that I'm sticking in. I did try using it with some of my other round stuff sacks or dry sacks, but what I found is it was a little bit too big for what I needed. And then the one that it would fit in, which was another ZPacks, I think the medium-sized dry sack. By the time I put it in there and then rolled it down, it was actually too tall to fit sideways in my backpack, which is the way I like to carry my food. I don't like to carry my food running up and down. I like to carry it sideways, which is why this comes in so handy. So because of that, I ended up not using this, and I just left it behind. And I just ended up just putting all my food just right inside this bag here, and then I just cinched it up, and then it fit down in my backpack real nice. So I would like to make a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, Jara, if you're watching, on the LiteTrail, the NyloBarrier bags, if there's any way that you can make them like a different shape, like a rectangular shape, I think that or just maybe just a little bit bigger in width, that way we can still roll them down. I think that would be awesome, and I would definitely be interested in some of those. But I'm not sure what all's involved in doing that, so it's just a suggestion. But anyway, the food bag did work fine. I do have a little something to say about this food bag now. When I got it, Joe had just started putting them on the site, and this was the only option available. And I'm sure that if I would have contacted him, he could have put a roll top on it, but I didn't think about it. I just bought it the way it is. And I like it, it's fine, but obviously if I'm hanging food up in it and it rains all night, water's going to get in through there. Now I do have my food in Ziploc bags or dry bags or something, but still everything in there just kind of gets wet, and that's something I don't really like. So that's one thing I'm going to have to change. I'm going to end up probably, I don't know if I'll get rid of this, but probably going to a Roll Top Dry Blast food bag from Joe. I need to pick one of those up sometime. But to counter that, I decided to use this ZPacks pack liner that I got a while back. This was actually one of my first purchases from Joe. So I used this. I decided to use this as my pack liner. And one of the biggest reasons I decided to do that is because I could take my food bag, and actually I took some other people's food bags and stuck inside of here, and then once I got done, I would actually roll this and then cinch it, and then I would hang this entire thing with my food inside it, and that actually kept my food dry. So that was a way to make up for that. You know, take that for what it's worth. But this is a great liner. I have no problem with it. I can't remember. I think it's made out of 1 ounce per square yard Cuben fiber. It's held up really well. I actually seam sealed this one myself. This was before Joe was taping everything. But I did seam seal this one myself, and I think it weighs somewhere around 1.9 or 2 ounces, something like that. So if I could have managed to have a different type of odor-proof bag or even a dry bag for my food, I probably could have got away with leaving this behind and using one of LiteTrail's pack liners too. But anyway, that's what I used to make it work. Also, one cool thing about this, as well as my rain kilt, and I'm not going to open it up, but I took my ZPacks Hexamid Solo Plus to use with me and my wife. And this was the first time I used it for 2 people. And I was really interested to see how it would work with 2 people. What I found out is the tin itself works great with 2 people, especially for the size that me and my wife are. I'm 5'10", she's about 5'2", somewhere right in there. And it works well. The only problem I have is I have the Solo Plus ground sheet, and it's not wide enough, particularly at the head and the foot end, to fit 2 sleeping pads in it. So I'm actually debating possibly getting the twin size ground sheet. And that way, if I ever go on another hike and you know, my wife or my son goes with me, I can carry the twin size ground sheet instead of the Solo Plus size, and it would better accommodate both pads. What I did though is I took my cloud kilt and I took my pack liner and I just laid them. I opened them up and I laid them up against the side, so I actually created a bit wider sleeping pad inside the tent, or a ground sheet inside the tent by using these, and that worked out pretty well. So I gotta tell you, this cloud kilt, it really has a lot of uses. I've used it for a lot of things, really. And actually, in the rain is one thing I haven't really used it much for. I've used it a lot for ground sheets and just other applications, but it's a good thing to have. But as I said, still loving my Hexamid in the videos that I posted on the hike. If you will notice, I did actually rip a hole in the mesh around the ground where my trekking pole was inside it. And I did that. It was my own stupid fault. I should have been careful what I was doing, but I did do that. But I'm still loving this tent, still enjoying it. My ZebraLight H51, still got nothing but good things to say about this. My DIY headband's starting to get kind of nasty, so I'll probably have to change it out sometime soon. But everything's worked up or held out well on this, and I'm really happy with it, and I couldn't recommend this enough. I know it's more expensive than some people want to pay, and there are other lights out there that are half the price or even less. That will work just fine, but in my opinion, you get what you pay for, and I don't believe that I wasted a single dime of my money by purchasing this, and I'm just really happy with it. My dry ducks. This is about the 3rd or 4th trip I've carried my dry ducks on, and I actually wore the top and bottom, but it never rained. We thought it might rain, so I went ahead and put them on. You know, what can I say? They're about less than 20 bucks, about 5 ounces for each piece or something like that. So it's around 10 ounces or maybe a little less for both the top and bottom in a size medium, and that fits over everything I've got, my pants and everything. But I mean, hey, they're good pants. I wore my pants over my down pants, which I'll get to those in just a little bit, to help protect my down pants, and then I of course wore them while I was hiking if it looked like it was going to rain. They do okay. You know, they're not state-of-the-art, you know, rain gear or anything. They're just cheap, inexpensive, lightweight rain suit. I do like them. I recommend them, and I'll probably pick up another pair if these ever wear out. I have noticed that since I've worn them now a couple of times, and just from packing them in my packing stuff, they're starting to get some war spots on them. A couple of places it looks like it's been scratched from a briar or something like that. But so far, I don't think they need replacing. But like I said, I probably will when I need to. Let's see, my Borah Bivy. I brought my Borah Bivy with me just in case I needed it because of my sleep system, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. I never used my Borah Bivy myself. My wife, on the other hand, did decide to use it one night. It was our last night. We stayed at Over Mountain Shelter, and she was actually using my Marmot Helium, and she used my REI LiteCore 1.5 sleeping pad. That's the one she picked out of all my other pads. She used that, and then of course she had sleeping clothes. And we were in the shelter, and it was kind of windy a little bit. So I told her, I said, honey, if you want to use this bivy, it'll help keep some of the wind off and probably keep you just a little bit warmer, just in case. Because that night was supposed to be the coldest too. I think the temperature only got down to like 36 or something like that. And then of course wind chill, because we were right there on the shelter. But anyway, she's real claustrophobic, so what we did is she just kind of got in, and she didn't actually put the mesh or anything over her head. She just kind of used the bottom part to help, keep her warm. In the morning when we woke up, and she pulled her sleeping bag out of this thing, the sleeping bag was soaked. A lot of condensation, and I was a little surprised at that because, she's kind of a smaller person, and there was a good amount of wind blowing all night. So I was kind of thinking that there wouldn't be quite so much condensation, and especially also since that she didn't have her head actually inside the bivy. The bivy was opened up on the top part. But I don't know. Maybe it would have worked better if it was just right out in the open instead of inside the shelter. If you've seen the pictures of the Over Mountain Shelter, you see what I'm talking about. It is open to the air, but it just depends on which way the wind's blowing, really. Although the wind was blowing all around that night. But anyway, so I'm going to have to play with this a little bit more because I don't want to wake up on a cold morning below freezing with a bunch of moisture inside it. So this may take a little bit more use for me to actually understand how to use it correctly and all that stuff. Also, the stuff sack that it was in, I use the stuff sack each night for a pillow. This was the first time I tried this. Typically I carry a pillow with me, but this time because of my setup, I had my R1 fleece, which I wore during the day to hike in. I had it as a free piece of clothing item that wasn't being used at night. I wasn't wearing it. So what I did is I just rolled up my R1, put it inside here, and used it. And I got to be honest, it worked out pretty well. It probably gave me more support than the air pillows I used, and it actually didn't squirt out from underneath me, or put your head on one side and the pillow fills up there on the other side or something like that. So it worked out well. Of course, I won't be able to do that in the summertime, but it's something I'm going to continue to try, see how I like. But anyway, that's that. This is our Sea to Summit Alpha Light Shorty spoon. My wife carried this, and it was a good thing because I carried my disposable spoon that I've been carrying on past 3 or 4 trips, and it broke on me the first night. That's the price of carrying super ultralight gear, I guess. This wasn't a super ultralight trip, though. Wasn't even an ultralight, really. My base weight was around 11 pounds, so it was more like a lightweight. But anyway, my super ultralight, ultra not durable plastic spoon broke on me the first night after I ate my supper the first night. So the remaining nights, we just shared this. She would eat her food first, and then I would eat mine. If I would have been out there by myself, I could have used some duct tape to repair the other spoon, but I didn't feel like doing that since we still had this, and I just used this. I'll continue to use the disposable spoons, but I'll probably change them out before each trip instead of using the same one over and over. There's that. And then the reason I got this out is because of the hot lips. The hot lips work really well. I used one on my MLD 475 cup to drink from. They work really well. One thing I found out though is that if you kind of sip it slowly, it seems like whatever you're drinking, coffee or hot cocoa or whatever, can get between the hot lip and the cup there because of the way it attaches. So you just have to be careful so it doesn't dribble down. I didn't actually have any dribble down, but on my MLD cup I've actually got a cozy because it doesn't have handles. I've got like a little cozy around it. So if it dribbles down and I'm keep getting coffee or hot cocoa on that cozy, of course that thing's going to stink, I'm sure. So, but anyway, the hot lips, I like them pretty much so far, and I'll continue to use them for a little while until I find a reason not to.